Hi everybody, welcome joining us to another Prosharp webcast where we talk about skate profiling in depth. If you have any questions along the way, feel free dropping them into the comment section below or email to us mikko@prosharp.com or niclas@prosharp.com. So my name is Mikko Kuparinen, 5 years with the Prosharp AP, 4 years in Canada, 1 year in Europe. My focus is Central Europe sales. I have a hockey background within a professional hockey that helps me to relate in different type of market needs.
Thank you, Mikko. My name is Niclas Rosenholm. I've been working 7 years for Prosharp here in Sweden. Start with production and heading over for sales and education. I help out Mikko with the sales in Central Europe and also Russia. I also played hockey when I was a kid and young, and now I'm playing with the beer leagues. So I think that helps me as well during my job. Let's talk about some history of Prosharp Profiling. As you all know, the first machine, AS 2001, was sold 1986. 1988, the first single radius profile came. After that, we developed a double radii profile. We launched it in 1995. 2004, we launched the first Zuperior profile with 3 different radius on the same blade. 2013, we launched the quad profiles, which means that you have 4 different radii on the same blade.
So we look to what is the profile. Profile is the shape of a blade seen from the side. So any skate there is in a market, they all have radius or profile in them. There might be a small difference in millimeters if you put the steels side by side, but that translates to huge difference in the feel on the ice. Radius means any given distance from center of the circle to the outer layer. And for example, if you have a 13-foot radius, that would mean that the distance from the center of the circle to the outer layer is 13 feet, and that translates to the template, for example, that you would do with the 13 feet single radius profile. When skates are profiled, they need to get profiled between 65 to 70% at least. That will mean that the skating area that you've been on the ice on a ball of your foot to the mid-heel, that area will get profiled and you get these performance features that you look in whatever profile you're going into. Ice contact with the larger radius gives the skater more ice contact, and smaller radius gives the skater less ice contact. And obviously the large ice contact equals to the greater speed and stability. You have more steel touching the ice. And on the other hand, the smaller radius ice contact equals to better acceleration and agility. As we discussed a few slides before, the difference is we just have an example on 10-foot and 13-foot single radius to keep things fairly simple. So visually, when you look these 2 different profiles compared to one another, difference is very minimal. If for example, we got left-hand side, we got an R10, and then on the right-hand side, we got radius 13. And from the center of the steel, if we move 5 centimeters towards the toe, the distance or the gap between ice and the steel is 0.41 millimeters with the 10-foot radius. And then if we look the same numbers with the R13, we have 5 centimeters from the mid skate to the towards the toe, the cap is 0.32. So there's only 0.09 millimeters of difference, which is almost impossible to see by eye, but it has a huge difference on how the skate actually feels. And the other number, we have 10 centimeters with the both numbers. You had a little bit of more cap, but the point in here is that it is very, very difficult to see by eye how much that actually translates to the feel on the ice. And if we expand a little bit more with, we have an example here of these same 10-foot radius and 13-foot radius. On the left column, we see radiuses in feet and radiuses in meters, which are most commonly used in a feet, but in Europe, we use the meters as well. And the mid column, we got an ice contact. And with, let's say that we will look for the 13-foot radius first, which equals to 4 meters. Your ice contact actually is 56 millimeters. And then with the 10-foot radius, your ice contact is 49 millimeters. So we see there's a 7 millimeters of difference how your steel is contacting the ice. And on the right-hand side, we have, if we just want to go back a little bit, that's just a column that compares on hollows in feet and millimeters. In Europe, we mostly use the millimeters. In North America, those are in inches. Just giving you a reference there.
What is a profile template? We're using these templates with different radii on to copy the shape of them to the blade. And with the tools on the AS 2001, you can set the height on the guide roll and decide the total length that you want to copy. And if we're looking on what kind of templates we have 8 families. I would say single, dual, superior, quad, goalie, bandy, long ones, and old schools with a glide surface on. You find this list under machines at our website, prosharp.com.
So the recommended profiles that we give, at the end of the day, it's always player's preference or skater preference, but based on the skill level or playing style, we can recommend what profile you should be on. Generally, the single radius profiles are for beginners and young players. To get that, they're very easy to handle. If you want to have more balance, you just select the larger single radius. If you feel like you're lacking on certain elements, you want to turn quicker, then you would have a shorter radius. Will be the next natural step when you learn skating. You know how to use your edges, you got a good balance, but you maybe want to gain a little bit your acceleration, but not sacrificing the balance that you have. So the twin radius, dual radius would be right profile to go on that point. Now when the skater skill level has improved with the single radius, the 2 radius profile, the natural step would be, like we call them as a pro templates, superior profile and a quad profile. But now we can look a little bit more what your playing style would be. So generally speaking, superior profile has 3 radiuses, front radius being really small, base radius in the middle is a little larger, and there's a short back radius, short but large back radius, giving you that stability. So in that sense, it would be great for the power wingers and defensive D-men. And the last progression is the quad profile, where we have 4 different size of radius. So again, generally speaking, when you have all of these different elements blended into the one skate, that would help the skaters that are really mobile, centerman, for example, offensive defenseman that goes north to south, east to west. And again, these are only recommendations. The best way is to really experiment them and try on your own, but these are the guidelines that we are happy to offer and recommend using. Zuperior and Quad, there's just a little breakdown on different profiles within these pro templates. Zuperior Quad based on the skate size. If you have difficulty to know, which there's so many different profiles, which one you should go to, you just simply take your skate size, and we have a guidelines which Zuperior Quad profile you should be on. So all the way from sizes 1 to 2 to 11 to 12 will find you that we have in selection that will accommodate your performance level the best.
Yes, exactly. And you can also look on the profile list that we showed earlier, that some of the templates you can use on smaller sizes as well. And then we have mentioned the skates, the blade sizes instead. So go in and look, and you will see what kind of template that will be suitable for your skates.
So there's 4 sections on the steel that every skater naturally uses regardless of the profile that you have. Front part, when we're doing acceleration, trying to get more speed, the weight shifts towards front of the skate. The next segment, when skater is doing quick turns, we call that agility segment. Your weight and pressure shifts towards the mid blade. When you're gaining your maximum speed using your biggest muscles, you're going to use roughly a mid part of a skate when you're doing these long strides. And the final part on back of the skate, when you're searching for a balance, battle on front of the net or on the corners, you search that balance from the back of the skate. So that radius, like all of these radius in the perfect world, should be different size, accommodating your acceleration with the short radius. Your agility segment should be a little bit bigger, that you have that balance, but short enough that you can turn really quickly. The mid part, when you're doing huge strides using your biggest models, that has to be the bigger area contacting the ice that any of these two on the front of the skate. And lastly, the stability. You want to have that stable area where you feel really stable on your skates, but at the same time being able to accelerate really well.
And new for this season is this sticker that will be in all Bauer boxes. And this part in the right corner will explain more about why we have it. It's a cooperation between Bauer and Prosharp, and that means that all the 3 top line skates from Supreme series will come with a Power Quad profile, and that means that it's pre-profiled with a Quad 0. And to get when you bought the skate, you need to touch it up with the Quad 0 again to get it exactly as you want it. And this is new for this year.
Skate sharpening affects the profile. The profile will wear down eventually over the time. So that makes it extremely important that when skates are sharpened, that you have a consistent speed and you have a consistent pressure. And if you circle back again, what we talked about, the small differences we had an example on 13-foot radius and 10-foot radius. And so the change or difference is so small that once the skates are sharpened, it's easy to skew them if you don't use automatic machine that makes sure that you have a consistent speed as well as the pressure. We would recommend, obviously this affects a little bit how often you sharpen skates, but if you're a professional player, you might sharpen your skates every day, so you need to profile them quite a bit more often. But general rule of thumb is that you reprofile at least one every season. And then there's also interaction between ROH so your hollow and the profile. Once you find the correct profile that fits your playing style, and let's say that it's one of these combination profiles where you can address your accelerations and your stability segments, for example, you have an option that you can narrow down your profile. There's enough blade touching the ice, and once you narrow or flatten out your radius, you will gain more glide. You can, I guess, less fatigue, and taking these all consideration, if you're less tired and you glide better, you're gonna reduce the risk of injuries. Groin injuries is a big problem in hockey, and oftentimes these occur when your radius or profile is not correct and your hollow is too deep.
Profiling in practice. How shall we do it when we want to profile? We need to dress the wheel on flat first, and this is general for sharpening with the new self-centering machine. And why we dress the wheel on flat is that because we have two blades, and first we want to even them out. So what we do is that we use the twin blade holder, connect both blades, mark them with a marker underneath, and then sharpen them 5 to 10 passes depending on how they look directly from the box. And when you have removed the marker underneath, then you start profiling.
And as you saw on the previous slides when we talked about profiling, the most important parts when you do a double profile is that you first even them out to make sure that they're 100% even. And remember then to first rest the wheel on flat, use the twin blade holder to get the same height, set the marks on the center mark and where you want to do the profiling, and then mark the blade under with a marker. Then just sharp the skate on flat until you have removed the marker underneath, then they're even. Then you do the profiling. Make sure you have the right number on left and right hand side. Then you have the center mark on 0. Then we're using the same size as on the runner, 272 in this case. And now we're deciding where we want to profile the blade. So what we do is that we put the center mark on pivot point if we want to have it centered. Clamp the blade. We're using a template. Attach that in the machine like that. Then we're using one push here, one here. Then we're only starting the sledge. And then we easily can set the height of the guide roll to decide where we want to, the total length of the profile. And when you're satisfied with the height of the guide roll, we start profiling. And then we're gonna sharp until the guide roll is rolling under the whole template. Then we have a copy the shape of them to the blades. Then it's time for hollow.
And pitching. You can change the pitch, the lowest point on the blade, by moving the center. If you're thinking that you're standing on a pipe and you move the pipe backwards, you will automatically lean forward. And on our quad and superior profiles, we have the lowest point 20 millimeter backwards moved, just to get the more aggressive acceleration.
For example, if we want to change the pitch on the blade, we can move the center. And as I said, if you move the center backwards, you're falling forward. Imagine that you're standing on a pipe. If you move it forward, you will get more upraised. Normally it's between 1 and 2 centimeters that you move the center backwards to get a more aggressive acceleration and to get it easier to get down on your skating position. So what you do is that you do it on the same way. You mark the blade as you want. You decide how much you want to pitch it. For example, 1 centimeter or 2. We go for 2 in this case. We have the center mark 20 millimeter backwards. Then we're using that mark on the pivot point. We put it in. We take our template. We attached it in the machine. And then we set the height of the guide roll as usual. What you also can do is, instead of moving the blade and changing the lowest point, you can also put it in center and then change the angle of the template. That's also a way. And then profile as usual.
Reprofiling in practice. When you want to reprofile a quad or superior that has a pitched blade backwards, you need to do it in a certain way. You need to mark the center mark and the 20 millimeter backwards to get the pivot point. And that's the one that you put in the machine. And this is the same way you do when you have a new pair of Bauer skates with the power quad profile. We will see that more on the video.
Reprofiling in practice. This was how to set up a profile, and if you want to do a reprofiling of the power quad or a quad or a superior, you do it the same way. You even them out first. You mark the center mark, you mark under, dress on flat, and when you're done, you set up the steel on the same way. Same number on each side. You put the center mark, but now we put the mark 20 millimeter backwards as well. And why is that? Because that's the lowest point on this profile. We remove this template. We put the 20 millimeter mark on the pivot point. What we do then is that we hold the blade and move the sledge until we have the pivot point on the center mark of the blade. Then we clamp it. Then we take our quad 0, for example. And then we do the profiling as before. You set the height on the heel, and then we check it, and we will profiling further than the mark on the toe, just so you know, because of the shorter radius in front. And when you're satisfied with the height of the guide roll, you profile them. After that, you do the hollow.
And blending a toe, when the profile is done, this is really important step. That the first circle here that you can see is that where your profiling area roughly ends. So after the profile, you need to blend that toe part with the natural curvature with the profile that you just created. If this step is not done, your toe will be digging into the ice way too aggressively. So this is super important step to do, which we have a video attached as well. What do we mean by blending a toe?
Yeah, and you will see it as well on the video on how to do it. And as you see as well, never blend in the heel. what's happening then is that you start to remove the stability from the steel.
After profiling, we want to check the blades, how they look. So we remove the template, and then we check the blades. Sometimes you can get like an edge or a bump on the toe, and then you want to blend it to remove that. What you can do on the self-centering machine with 2 blades in one go, you have the blade on, you have the wheel on flat. You put it down like that, using something to put on the sensor, so the machine thinks that there's a blade in. Pressing 1, and then manually just sharp the toe. Until you're satisfied. And then sharp the skates one by one on that hollow you want.
So profile testing, we gave you the guidelines, what profile would fit certain type of a player. However, the best way picking a profile by far is going on the ice and experiment them. We do demo sessions. So if you're hearing this, we'll look at this presentation and you find like your hockey organization would like to take up on it, we can certainly make that happen. It's good when we do these education sessions and profile ice testing, we talk about whoever participate what the profiling is and try to explain what type of profiles they have a chance to try and what kind of features they possibly can get out of them. And it's also important to do when you're skating on the ice that you do the game in situations. The best way is that would be part of a practice. Sometimes it's not possible. So, but the main thing is that you go on the ice and try different profiles. Fairly quick to adjust to them. Some players who maybe never had a 4 radius, the quad profile, they go on the ice and it's a 5 minutes and they feel that that's the best profile they've ever been on. But keeping that in mind, sometimes it's good to be on a practice, have entire 1 hour session or two sessions to really get that feel what profile is best for you. And we have, like I said, we have these profiling sets that we go into, or we are able to actually send them now for different organizations as well, with the various different sizes where players can test them.
Yes, exactly. And not to forget this, the muscle memory. It can take up to 2 hours before you find your balance on a new pair of steels. And that is also something you need to think of. Here's a quick video on Elias Persson when he's trying the Quad Zero.
Men jag känner att i frånvändningar och så har jag känt att jag inte har det grepp jag vill ha i skridskorna. Att jag ibland, det blir att jag tappar greppet på i frånvändningar och testa 6-7 olika och att just nu gillar jag Quad Zero mest.
So profiling accessories and consumables. First thing, obviously, is the profiling machine, AS2001 SC. You can profile 2 steel at the same time. We have a profile copier device. So if, let's say that there might be a player who doesn't know what profile they've been skating on, but they don't want to try anything else than the one that they've had before, no problems. We have a device that you can install your old steel and make a copy, use that as a template. So you got exactly the same profile that you had before. The blade instrument, so you can check with the single radius profiles, you can see what your current radius on the steel is, giving you a little bit of reference point, whether your skates are completely different to one another.
And a note there is that this tool is to be used for single radius.
We got an EP profiling wheel for 2001 series. So there's no dressing at all. You just hammer down with this wheel. And then we got a grinding wheel MA46 that is a little bit wider. It's 8 millimeters wide, as opposed to the sharpening wheels that are 6 meters wide. So you can fit 2 steels with actually both of these, with the MA46 and for the EP profiling wheel. Yeah, thanks for listening us. Please remember following us at Prosharp Official in Instagram, facebook.com/Prosharp on Facebook, prosharp.com from our website and YouTube channel, where we have all types of videos, regardless what is servicing the machine or ice testing. There's lots of stuff, so please log in and follow us on those platforms.